Howdy, ladies and gents. Quick intro. I messed up the start. It was on the wrong headphone and you can't hear me, but this is a video about why the Trump administration is sitting off the coast of Colombia and Venezuela. What's it all about? It's really about squeezing the European Union and their drug money cash flows. That's what it's really about. There's a few other things as well, but that's the primary aim, and I will at least prove it to you or give you my version of events, which I'm 100% sure is correct. If they would crush Colombia, crush Venezuela like that. Maduro works for damn Chevron, for crying out loud. It's all garbage. He's been begging Trump, please don't attack me. And then next minute is, oh, we shall fight to the death. Oh, it's such a show. All right, let's get back to the video at the point where I fix the sound. Talk again soon.
Player in the drug trade. And so it's important to know that when you're hearing the narrative from the Trump administration in regard to the military buildup that we're now seeing off the coast of Venezuela. Now, he then hits at Senator Lindsey Graham, and I really enjoyed this for a number of different reasons. Let's watch the clip first, and then I'll tell you why.
Let's go back to the start. Sorry, I didn't realize what it was.
Where nobody cares. So it's gonna happen no matter what people think. In fact, if it does happen, it will likely happen at a time when most Americans had no idea it was about to happen. In other words, it'll be a huge surprise to everyone if this happens.
Tucker Carlson believes that we are going to engage in a regime change war with Venezuela, whether we like it or not. What are your 2 cents, Cenk?
Yeah, I think this is part of the Great Awakening. So this isn't just about Israel or Epstein anymore. Now we're talking about, wait, we said anti-war. Why are we starting a giant war with Venezuela?
All right, did I get the wrong one up? Anyway, they originally say things like, oh, I don't want to look at Cenk. Let's get something better looking here. Go back. There we go. That's better. I used to have the hots for Anna in a day. Now I can't stand the whiny little cow. Little Soros gal, aren't they? They got short memories. Little Soros gal. We got Tuck. Now, haven't they teamed up? We got the Soros arm and the Kissinger arm all teamed up together now. Isn't it amazing? Isn't it amazing? I think that's the wrong one. It's another one. But what they say is Tucker says the obvious. The cocaine comes out of Bolivia, Peru, and Colombia. That is correct. If you don't know, let me get something up for you. I got the book published by the most prolific drug smuggler in the world, Roger Reeves, who was Barry Seal's boss. I met him in a jail in Western Australia. He was doing time for a ton of cocaine, 18 to life. I got his book published. And I know a lot about how the drug trade works, not just through Roger Reeves, but what synchronicity that I would be in jail for a ridiculous charge. I wasn't even meant to be in medium or maximum security. I was a minimum security rated prisoner. They wanted to teach me a lesson, so they stuck me in Acacia private prison, which is medium, but it's like maximum with cooking privileges, and it's probably worse than maximum. Maximum, everyone's kind of quiet and respectful till they're not. This is just a bunch of animals over there in Acacia prison, trust me. Unless you're in the self-care unit with Dudzi and all the gang taking ecstasy and meth. Working for Bill Bosch, Serco Private Intelligence, South African Intelligence, Jesuit. So I was going to get up Roger Reeves. Should I get it up? No, I can't be bothered. Oh, wait a minute, let's get it up. Anyway, that's the book, Roger Reeves, a memoir. There I went up and met Roger in Ensenada. It was Barry Seal's boss, and Pablo Escobar, Jorge Ochoa's first professional pilot who modernized their entire transport route. Hardly anyone's heard of him. He's all over the news now. There he is on the Lex Friedman show. It was one of the first big ones he went on. Patrick Bet-David refused to have him on. Then once he got popular, he was on. Anyways, anyway, Roger taught me a lot about the drug trade. Number one, Roger would do 20-ton loads of coke out of Mexico, so they bring it up via land and sometimes over the sea to Mexico, the cocaine. Then they would load it 20-ton loads into shipping containers. Look, some would go up on different routes with different cartels through the trucking and so on, 5 kilos at a time on body, what do you call them? Haulers, Smurfs who run across the border. But the big boys, 20-ton loads, Cali cartel, all the rest, well, they would go up into Canada. So here's what you're forgetting about Canada. Canada is a major drug route into the United States. An awful lot of the meth and the fentanyl is also made in Canada. Don't forget that. That's why Canada has to go. Canada has to go. Completely. Certainly the West is going, really all of the East, and they all need to go to France because France is a major player in French elites. Not the French people, but the French elites are major players along with not so much the Germans, but the Swedish and a bunch of others. Norwegians as well. They're all over Central and South America. They're all through Mexico, the Swedish, the French. They're all learning French here. Claudia Sheinbaum's best friend is Macron. The World Economic Forum, work it out. So Canada's a major player. So 20-ton loads of coke and hashish and marijuana go up. Big ships, big shipping containers. They go up into the ports in Canada and also Vancouver. Sorry, not Vancouver, but also to Seattle is a big player there. Also a big player, but big. And then Roger, it would be split into trucks and aircraft, float planes, and Roger would fly a lot of that stuff down. And we see now there's a Canadian former snowboarder who's the new #1 enemy. They need a new enemy. He'll do. I mean, it's a joke, and I could talk about the drug trade all day, and Roger will be soon. Roger's now got a major Hollywood star. Before, they had written a script for him. Tarrant Egerton, the guy that did Blackbird and Kingsman, was going to play Roger. It was meant to be an Apple 10-part series. Then COVID, then the writer's strike, and then Apple suddenly wasn't interested. And I said, Roger, I'm telling you, Ari Emanuel knows who I am, Joe Rogan knows who I am, Alex, they all know. All right, and I said, Roger, come with me, let's work together, and we'll start pushing you openly, particularly with this anti-Zionist stuff. And Roger was starting to agree, and then suddenly he got a call from a major Hollywood star. You know who they are. You've met them. You've seen them. They're in tons of movies. This guy worked on and was a producer on the Gary Webb Kill the Messenger movie, Jeremy Renner and co. Well, they've just optioned Roger's book, life memoir, for a year. And I said, Roger, if they don't give you your movie and your major series, all right, you come with me. And he said, absolutely. So Roger, well, I wish him the best. I hope they make a movie. It's worth it. His story is incredible. It is incredible. It's not a sex, drugs, and rock and roll violence at all. It's family. Roger's deeply religious, but he's a typical rebellious Aquarian. And he says, what's the difference between cocaine and alcohol? Alcohol kills far more people than cocaine ever will. It's not my fault people can't behave civilly, take a loss, make millions of dollars. That's their problem. And he's right to a point. I disagree because the energy around it is a bit dark, but he has a point. What hypocrisy. I'm a former registered nurse, emergency department ICU trained. I've seen the carnage. I speak with social workers and coppers and other nurses. The carnage from alcohol dwarfs cocaine. Even methamphetamine isn't up there as much as alcohol is. But that's okay, that's legal. It's toxic, makes you vomit. Imagine if alcohol came onto the market just now, right now. Alcohol's just arrived. It would be banned immediately. People would say, why the hell would you want that? We think we're very strange, hairless apes the way we think. So that's the drug trade. So the drugs come out of Peru, Bolivia, and Colombia, mainly, but also a little bit out of Venezuela. I'll tell you what it's really about. They're putting pressure on the EU for the drug trade money because out of the Colombian ports and the Venezuelan ports, the huge cargo ships with their big 20-ton loads, they all go to the shipping ports of Antwerp and Rotterdam in Belgium and the Netherlands. Okay? It's all run by Israelis. The company that handles the security for all those ports is ICTS Security. That was started by Atwell Security previously, who was Shin Bet Balan or whatever his name was. I'm doing a voiceover for this. The Shin Bet, they were both Shin Bet, and they originally lost the contract to a great American hero, that journalist that wrote the article that made the contract get dropped. Atwell Security, and they're all linked in with Israeli aerospace industries, started by the father of Amit and his brother, Yoran, who handled all the computers on 9/11 to this day. Graduates of Telpia Unit 8200, remember? Told you, Whitney wasn't interested. Whitney's not interested. So you see how this is all, I'm putting this all together. They run port security, aircraft security. Logan Airport, that was ICTS Security, Atwell Security. They lost the 1988 World Trade Center contract for the security. Otherwise, 9/11 would have happened in 1990. Aircraft would have flown into those buildings, and you would have seen the Odiginon plan unfold. And I put to you, as I've said previously, they lost in 1988. In 1988, they lost. It's been a disaster ever since. Now, there were no cameras around then. Now we had the internet, we had ADSL, at least it was starting to come in, and we could begin pulling apart the whole narrative. And people had cameras when it happened in 2001. That's how long it took them. This is a very small group of people within Mossad, within German intelligence, within French intelligence, within Russian intelligence. All right, it's all Rothschild, City of London, that private network. It's not the Mossad or the French intelligence, German intelligence, but they all had to do with it, and separate groups were warning the United States that this was going to happen. So, Project for New American Century, Odiginon will never come out of Anna and Chenk's mouths, those disgusting little lefty rats of the right and left arm of Rothschild, and Tucker Carlson. People just can't grasp. The limited hangout will drag us all to hell. It's always a limited hangout. Well, they're not ready yet, Brendan. Don't give me that garbage. I've been watching this for 30 effing years. 90% of you are noobs, man. You're such fucking noobs. I'm trying to save you the time of making the same mistakes I made. I'm trying to save you the time. I know most of you get it. This isn't going to that many people. So anyway, Atwell Security became ICTS, run by Israeli intelligence. And it sits there in the Netherlands, right next door to ASML and IMEC, the most high-tech places for chips anywhere in the world, including the United States. Wow, I thought the CHIPS Act, they'd be moving it all to the US. Oh, more to come. More to come. Europe, the missing link, the EU. This is what the pressure is from the Trump administration. They are putting pressure on the EU for their drug money. It's not about taking over Venezuela. Maduro, the rat's already said, what do you want? I'll give you everything. Who was keeping Venezuela alive? Chevron, an American oil company, was keeping Maduro alive. They were buying all the freaking oil. What the hell? Then someone said, oh, China's ready to take their oil. No, they're not. It's garbage. Maduro said, what do you want? You can have anything you want. And they said, no. And they're just sitting off the coast. There wouldn't be a war or an occupation. He's fucking hated. Maduro lost over 60% of the vote. It was like 64% against him at least. He's totally unpopular. The military hate him. Getting rid of him is child's play. This is about pressuring that drug network which runs into Europe. And of course, with the drugs comes the cash, liquid money. Trump wants it. He wants a piece of the pie. That's why he's threatening Miriam Adelson, saying, oh, Miriam, you love Israel, don't you? He's saying, you got billions in the bank, have you? He's extorting the freaking Jews. Jews are not running this administration, okay? Skull and Bones is running it, but they got to negotiate and pressure each other because they're both stinking filthy. I'll just take Skull and Bones, the best of a bad bunch, the nicer pedophiles, but the bottom line is radical authenticity now. So the whole drug war crap is about pressuring the EU. You heard it here first. I said it weeks ago. And when I was doing my bit of research on Gemini, as soon as I put down, because I was investigating all these links between Israeli security, they do the port security for the ships, they do the airport security. To this day, ICTS, come on, Anna and Cenk, come on, Tucker, tell us about this stuff. Jews are bad, boo the Jews. See the game? No specifics. Give me the specifics. Who's running the critical infrastructure? Nothing to say. Who is Zohar Zisapel and Rad Group? Run all the oil and gas pipelines, the electrical grids, the water, the power, the banks, the automatic teller machines, all one Israeli company. One of hundreds. There are tens of thousands of them in the US. This is what I wrote to ChatGPT, which is, there are a strange difference between the Gemini AI and the ChatGPT. And I wrote, I've been doing research on Gemini AI and it has been constantly glitching, making me switch to you. I've included the basic research previously done, so I put a bunch of articles, my UNHCR document and stuff. Please provide a summary of what you see, then we will then take the research further. I'm exploring a series of insights I've had to do with the drug trade out of Colombia and Venezuela and Brazil, running through European ports, which are controlled and run by Israeli-founded companies that do the port, shipping and airport security databases. So ICTS isn't just running the security at the airports, it's running like the human resources, the pays. They do 70% of the physical checks in both ports. All Israeli companies, amazing. They're all sitting in that high technology hub. That's interesting. Human resources, etc. ICTS, which was originally Atwell Security, founded by two members of the Israeli Shin Bet and based in the Netherlands. This company was directly involved in 9/11 airport security and screening. I see it as a control of shipping ports at Antwerp, at Rotterdam. I see the connection between an Israeli company, 9/11, the international drug trade, Amit Yoran and his brother and father, who were intimately involved with highest level US military and private databases. Remember, Israeli aerospace industries, that was the Yoran's father. They convert private and commercial aircraft, like put in extra fuel tanks and put in hidden compartments when you're smuggling drugs in both ships and aircraft. You see the links, see the connections? Whitney Webb will steal this and don't worry, I'll be whacked or forced offline and she'll take it up and give you 30% of it. Amit Yoran's father founded Israeli aerospace industry that do private and commercial aircraft conversions. This is all Chris Bollin stuff. Imagine if I just started talking about this and never mentioned Chris Bollin's name. What would you call me? That's Whitney Webb. Amiran's father founded Israeli aerospace industries that do private and commercial aircraft conversions. I see the perfect linkages for massive, highest level international drug trafficking. All the highest level banking and finance applications are Israeli Unit 200 or military intelligence companies, or full of their people. And they're all through Europe, they're all through Russia, they're all through the US. They specialize in converting aircraft, drug running. They handle airport and shipping port security. All have direct linkages into Israeli intelligence. The ports of Rotterdam and Antwerp are famous for the Portuguese. This is another aspect. The Portuguese and Spanish Jewish traders. They started the slave trade by Professor Tony Martin. Remember, the Portuguese Spanish Jews, they're the most racist. They also specialize in the African slave trade and the diamond trade, which is the major way drug trafficking rings launder drug money. Do you see the linkages I am making? Okay. Some of the oldest synagogues in America are Portuguese. So we got our eyes fixated on the blonde-haired, blue-eyed devils from Russia. We're missing an important aspect. Further, I find it curious that the two biggest, most high-tech and advanced chip design, testing and machine manufacturing companies are both based in the same area next to this Israeli-founded security company, Atwell Security / ICTS, ASML and IMEC. Israel is described as a high technology juggernaut. All the basic details are within the documents I provided you. One more thing, Trump's focus on Colombia and Venezuela, both major shipping points for drugs and illicit money flows into EU ports. When I speculated this was an aggressive threat to Europe's financial system, that's what it is, dependent on illicit cash flows, Gemini AI began to glitch, lock up and refuse to answer the question, and in the end the whole thread disappeared. I'm now here with you to see if you can do the work a large language model does, highly disparate and perhaps seemingly unlinked data, and find the connections or not find them. Please feel free to speculate. I'm looking for linkages and structure and freewheeling speculation. It will end in a 30-minute script, but let's first explore the subject and speculate again. And it goes into all of its replies. And then it says, well, what do you want? Do you want this style, that style? I said, look, I want all of it. I'm looking for an overall theme. I speculate there is a giant Jewish Zionist City of London Rothschild high technology transfer and drug trafficking ring that is worldwide and operating at the highest levels of government, military intelligence, and private subcontractor levels. For example, Anne Neuberger, not Alexis Wilson, whatever her name is, although she was interesting. Thank you, Don. Highest levels of government, military intelligence, and private sub. Anne Neuberger is a Hasidic Jewess belonging to a radical Jewish sect with a heavy presence in the Netherlands and London, the diamond trade. She is at the highest levels of the US intelligence community. I'm looking for an overall structure and big picture view of the issue. It will involve a lot of speculation, and I aim to encourage others to take part in the research. I hope this helps as we begin this long process of teasing out the themes, facts, and overall structure. Okay, it did its magic. Interlinked global network, technology, trafficking, and intelligence. And it's not bad. It's doing what a large language model does. I'm turning that into a script for a voiceover. Till then, if you've got any stuff, please email me, telpiot@protonmail.com. I will get into the habit of looking into Substack more. My Patreon will stay there. I've decided there's 2,700 posts. That would be a shame to lose all that. I will transfer a lot to Substack, but I'm going to leave it up. It's not free anymore. Every post has to be paid for, $10 a month. So if people want to view it, they can pay for it. I don't entirely trust Substack. There are things I like about Substack, but I don't trust it as far as I can kick it. Okay, let's not bury the lead. Colombia, Venezuela, all that stuff. There's no war. If the US just crushes, kills, destroys, there's no war with Iran. How can Iran make war on the United States? Oh, please spare me. The United States doesn't want Iran to go away because Iran is being used to pressure Sunni Arabs into peace in the Middle East, peace with Israel on the terms of the hadiths, which is attached to the Quran, which talks about 70,000 Jews from Isfahan and the coming of Dajjal, the Antichrist, Mahdi army and all that stuff. So let's get it straight. They're pressuring the EU. The enemy is the EU. Vice President Vance said the enemy is the EU. Trump said the EU was invented to fuck us. That's all true. Look, 50% of the Trump administration is good and exactly how a large geostrategic takeover should unfold. 50% is disgustingly bad. Morally, ethically, a lot of stuff. It's just very wrong. And I'm not sure how it's all going to end. Trump is enriching himself to the tune of billions. He's literally extorting Jews. He's extorting them. And you might think, no, I don't like it. The point is to get an adult conversation. An adult conversation is not allowed to take place, at least not now. The script will tell them, the theater, when that aspect walks on and the adults walk into the room. Till then, we've got Tucker Carlson and good old Nick Fuentes and little homos playing conservative Catholics with daddy's a Marrano Jew, Mexican. Yeah, I see things are as they usually are. Theater, circus, bullshit. So we can't have reasonable, rational conversations to fix things, not just the medium, but the long term. Demographics is destiny. We need to sit down, the whole world, and say, what is the best constitution you could ever possibly have? The big dick, D-I-C, divinely inspired constitution. And the biggest dick of all is the US Constitution. A big dick that must penetrate deep into the orifice of the planetary, political, geopolitical, educational, popular culture of the entire world. The revolution must be spread. I have come to free the slaves. That is the United States role. If it does not do that, if it simply becomes a shitty empire which cannot say sorry, admit to its mistakes, but then say we'll do better, well, it will end how it ends. I believe there was a book written a couple of thousand years ago that described it. So, with these things in mind, where there's life, there's hope. F. Scott Fitzgerald said it. And we will just keep plugging away. I had to get back to the script, and I'm also talking to Mary this afternoon for a heads up and a rundown of the bullshit the Republican Party have basically told her, toe the line or you go nowhere. No money, no nothing. And, who knows? Maybe Marjorie Taylor Greene and Mary Silver might hook up, and Marjorie Taylor Greene might learn a thing or two. Dare to dream. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll talk again very soon. Till then, remember this. 20 years of this. They're going to tell you tomorrow is the end. We die tomorrow. Collapse, zombies, alien invasion. They're going to have this bullshit going for the next 20 years. All to keep you anxious, demoralized. No, oh dear, what do we do? Oh my, entertain, fear porn, doom scrolling, so that we never just sit down calmly, attend to our daily needs, pay the mortgage, pay the bills, get 4 weeks worth of water and food just in case, get some solar panels, get a battery backup system. You should be prepping this anyway, right? Because there'll be some ups and downs. And then no great collapse is going to happen. There's not going to be a civil war. They just want the appearance of a civil war. So everyone's anxious. And we're not talking about the filth, the scum, the Armani-suited, $2,000 pure wool Armani-suited filth that run the place. We need to talk about central bankers, the Federal Reserve, and the US taking over everything. So that Africans once again start naming their kids George Washington and Abraham Lincoln. Because Christ said, whether you believe in the Christian tradition or not, a man called Jesus, allegedly, real or imagined, I absolutely know he existed. He said, I have come to free the slaves, and love is the fulfillment of the law. And if we can't come down and talk to each other, they don't want us talking. They brought in 10 million Mexicans and people from the South, let them run rampant, and then said, oh my God, look at all these poor people. Let's talk about bankers, shall we? Walk and chew gum. Yes, apply your laws as needed, your immigration laws, then you can pay them and say apologies for telling you to come up here and then giving it to you in the butt and sending you back. Here's a couple of grand on the way out as an apology. We can start rounding up the thieves, the fraudsters, and the useless eaters in the banking and financial class. How about that? The ones that run the drug trade. Stop making Mexico the piñata as if Mexico runs the drug trade. It's run out of the fucking Pentagon, Department of Defense, retired generals, as Kay Griggs told us. It's run by the bankers in the City of London, their financial private army, private networks, private intelligence through Paris, France, Frankfurt, Germany, Bank of International Settlements, Geneva, Switzerland, Basel, Switzerland. That's who's running this whole damn show with their diamond trade right in the center and high technology. And the hub's right there in Netherlands, Belgium, IMEC, ASML, video coming soon. Thank you to everyone who sends links and stuff. Please send more. I want to make everyone a producer. Let's get a little bit of a group thing happening. And remember the great F. Scott Fitzgerald and, of course, the equally great Bill Cooper. Talk again soon. F. Scott Fitzgerald, quote, "The test of a first-rate intelligence is the ability to hold two opposing ideas in the mind at the same time and still retain the ability to function. One should, for example, be able to see that things are hopeless and yet be determined to make them otherwise. This philosophy fitted on to my early adult life when I saw the improbable, the implausible, often the impossible, come true."
What is our common bond truly? Freedom. Freedom. Without freedom, you can't be a Christian no matter what denomination you belong to. You can't be a Buddhist. You can't own a donut shop. You can't drive from here to Oregon You can't be an American because that's what it's all about, and that's the only thing that it's all about. Nothing else. Nothing else. It's about freedom. Only freedom.